Our next guest in the studio is one of the all-time greats of Test cricket. I mean, look at the statistics. 98 Test matches, 405 wickets, an incredible average of 20.99. He's a one-time base player. He was even a Dancing with the Stars contestant. Sir Curtley Ambrose, it's an honour to have you in the studios here on Talk 100.3.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to see you here. Now, your time in Dubai, what is it? You've seen Chris Gayle on too many boat parties, so you thought you had to come and get some fun?
Well, not exactly. I'm not a party freak like him and others. You know, I'm more of a quiet kind of guy.
Oh, this is interesting. We've heard so many things about the Caribbean islands and players coming in from there. You were, as you say, that you're a nice, quiet person, but your bowling did all the talking.
Yes, most likely. I think that's the way to go. You know, there's no point talking to the batsman. I just figured that 5.5 ounces is enough to get the job done, and I got lucky a few times.
Was that calculated when you were playing? Because you terrorised so many batsmen, and they always used to say, Curtley Ambrose never said anything to me other than, that was out.
No, as long as I'm competing, I'm naturally aggressive once I'm competing. There are two sides to Curtley Ambrose. That aggressive side when I'm competing, and the very relaxed, jovial side, which people don't see too much, because they tend to judge me from what I've done on the cricket field. But I have two sides. I got a very quiet side, very relaxed and everything else.
You got into cricket quite late for a cricket player. Was it your mum's influence that made you move from basketball to cricket?
Yes, it was her influence, along with my fellow villagers, because I'm from a small village in Antigua called Sweets. And, just like every other youngster, we grew up playing every sport possible. And cricket was never my first love. Talking about basketball or football or soccer, some people call it. Cricket was just there because everyone plays and I fooled around. And then my mom, who's a cricket fanatic, wanted a cricketer in the family. There's 7 of us, 4 girls, 3 boys. I was the second in terms of boys. And my older brother, who migrated to the US to join my father. So I was naturally next in line. And she kept pestering me about playing cricket. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And hopefully it wouldn't work. But fortunately for me, I started playing club cricket for Sweets in Antigua in 1984. And a year later, in 85, I was selected for Antigua national team. And a year later, in 86, I was on the Leeward Islands team. And then 2 years later, in 1988, I was in the West Indies team. Nice. So from not wanting to play cricket at all, within 4 years, I became an international cricketer.
What point in that journey lit the spark where you're like, I can actually make it. I can play for the West Indies, the great West Indies sides?
I never thought about it. I had instant success when I started, but I just played because, pressure from my mom and villagers. So I never really thought about playing for the West Indies. As a matter of fact, I never thought I would have a long career in cricket. Because even though I played for the West Indies, I was still thinking basketball, right? I was 24 then when I made my debut, and I was still thinking, get to the US and play basketball. Mm-hmm. It took me 2 years of international cricket to really start to take it seriously, because in Antigua, I still play football, I still play basketball, and your name have to be registered in order to play. And the guys from the village decided, you know what? You're international cricketer, stop with this football and basketball thing and focus on cricket.
Yeah, because, Viv Richards played soccer quite high level as well, didn't he?
So did Richie Richardson. Ah. They both represented Antigua national team, so they were footballers as well. Mm-hmm. So it took me 2 years of international cricket to realize, you know what, all these people can't be wrong.
True.
As a matter of fact, I'll tell us something else. When I was selected for West Indies team to play my first ODI against Pakistan in Jamaica, the night before we traveled to Jamaica, I was playing basketball. And everyone was like, are you crazy? You're traveling tomorrow? I was like, so? So I realized everyone can't be wrong. So I just stopped playing football and basketball and just focus on cricket.
You talk about focusing on cricket, your bowling action, that whip of the wrist at the moment that you release gets that extra piece of cherry to move on. I've heard these stories, and tell us how correct is this, that your bowling action as an 8-9-year-old was perfect as compared to most of the kids that learn cricket.
Yeah, it was very natural for me. I play a lot of tennis ball cricket, in the parks and stuff. When I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, I could bowl properly.
Right.
Where other guys who were much older couldn't.
I'm sure. I mean,
So-
it's a difficult task, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so it was, for me, it was natural. And once I started to play proper cricket, I just worked at it. But it was natural from a very early age. So I didn't have to work as hard as some people.
Right. No, many a times kids these days who go to coaching academies and coaches work on them for hours and hours at end. Is there a calling that one says that, listen, you are either called or probably born to become a batter or a bowler or a wicketkeeper for that matter, like in your case?
No, I wouldn't say that. Some of us were fortunate enough to be more of a natural, and we work on our game to get better. But you can teach, you can coach a kid from an early age to
Right.
be a batsman or a bowler. But because natural talent can only take you so far.
Right, yeah.
You have to put in the work as well. So all the great players you've seen playing presently and from the past, as natural and as gifted as they are, they had to put in the work as well.
True.
So it can be done. You can be coached.
What-
If you're willing to be coached.
Well, why is it when you were coaching, because you're as a right-handed bowler, you're a left-handed batsman?
Well, I guess I'm ambidextrous.
Too many talents. Too many talents. As an Australian, I'm very fortunate that I was a child of 1990s cricket in Australia when you were sometimes more popular than the Australian side, the way you used to come. And there was a famous one-day international back in 1992. I remember being at this game. It was the first final at the SCG, Australia versus the West Indies. And this is what happened as it was on the commentary.
I think what he might have asked for is the sweatband off Curtley's right hand.
Now, umpire Prue has a difficult task here. He has to convince Curtley Ambrose, who's 6'8", that he's to take off the sweatband on his right wrist before he bowls to Dean Jones. That could generate an extra yard or two from Curtley, I would think. Very, very swift delivery.
Goes in the air, he's got 5, Simmons will catch it. Yes, a great performance by the big man.
An incredible match, and it's something that you've probably been asked about, and you will always be asked about in your career, where Dean Jones asked you to take off your white wristbands. What are your memories when you hear that?
Well, I've been hearing this so much, it seems like yesterday. Sometimes when I'm asked about it, I like to ask a question. After 12 and a half years of international cricket, is that the only thing you can remember I've done? But it was a strange request from Dean Jones. I couldn't understand why, because everyone knows I've always worn wristbands when I'm playing. And from what I understood after is that he was trying to throw me off my game. But he doesn't know me that well. Once you rattle me, it's not a good thing to do.
Because even later on in that innings, there was a ball you bowled to Ian Healy. Was it your first ever slower ball? It swung about 4 ways.
It probably was, because a slower delivery isn't something that I've practiced. It's not a part of my arsenal, really.
Yeah.
But it just came to me that, maybe if I tried a slower one, I could really bamboozle Ian Healy, who was batting at the time. And I tried it. And it worked perfectly. and if you see the replay, you can see how animated I was.
Yeah.
I never expected it to work that well, because it's not something that I've done before. And that was a special moment. I really, really enjoyed it.
No, incredible. I mean, we watch it and we watch it on loop whenever we watch that delivery. Now, modern day cricketers, they've become more of friends on field as well. Right, that fast bowler's aggression has kind of gone a little missing, because maybe call it the franchise league's curse that the best of the bowlers of Australia and the West Indies are chilling with the best of the batters in India because they're playing for the same franchise. Does it take the venom out of fast bowling if that aggression is missing?
It certainly does, and I believe another thing as well. The rules have changed so much. I believe cricket has gotten a bit softer, because I've always believed that there's no better sight than a great fast bowler versus a great batsman.
I agree.
So too many rules have been brought into cricket, and it's predominantly a batsman's game, and it takes away the fun. And I'm not a huge fan of this at all, because, for instance, as a fast bowler, and you bowl a short bouncer, and the batsman smacked you out of the park, you want to be able to retaliate straight away.
True.
You want to prove to me if you can do it again. Nowadays, you bowl one, next thing here, one for the over.
One for the over.
So you got to think, should I bowl a second one or should I wait? So right away, the contest is over.
That's right.
To me, it doesn't make sense. It takes away that enjoyment, the excitement. Spectators like to see enjoyment, bat versus ball.
True.
And today, sadly, is 90% favours the batsman.
Well, what changes would you make to the game in favour of the bowler?
Well, I think that a bowler should be allowed to bowl a few short deliveries, especially if a batsman can handle it, first of all, because if you keep pulling me out of the park, I mean, it's a contest.
Yep.
Convince me you can do it consistently. Or if you're a batsman who doesn't handle a short ball well, it's up to me as a bowler to get you out. It's part of my arsenal, my weapon to get you out because you're uncomfortable. But when I bowl one bounce and one for the over, right, where the contest is over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too many rules and regulations. Most of the things in cricket now is against the bowlers. For instance, those wides. You drift half an inch down the leg side, they call a wide. Oh, come on. What do you want a bowler to do? Bowl in the middle of the bat?
Well, I agree because as a fan, people want to watch sixes, but they also want to watch fast bowling.
Of course. And you overstep the mark, you bowl a no ball, you get a free hit. Oh, come on. What the bowler supposed to do? I reckon soon from now, you might just put a bowling machine and you set it there and let the bowling machine do. I mean, it's too many rules are against the bowlers. Right. So there's not a real contest. When you go back in the 70s and 80s, I mean, real fast bowling versus real batsmen, that was a sight. Sadly, all that is missing.
You speak about contests. Which contest did you like in your personal time when you were bowling that batter who could actually go and smack you on your short balls?
Well,
not too many, but still.
Well, I've had the privilege of playing against some great batsmen in my time. My job was simply to dispose of batsmen. So I'm never that friendly when I'm competing.
Nice.
At the end of the day's play or after the game, we can have a talk. I won't say have a drink because I don't drink. So after the game, yes, we'll have a talk and we can have a laugh. But once that bell rings and I step onto that park, it's not a friendly business.
Nice. No, but then I'm sure that there was some batsmen that you, as a bowler, don't want to see the face of. You either want to rattle them off, send them back to the hut, or that they will probably take you for runs.
Well, the thing about it is that you have days when you struggle to get these great players out. Makes you wonder, your sleepless nights, how are you going to get them out? And then the other days when those same players, they get them out quite cheaply. So you have to give and take. There are quite a few guys that I have a lot of respect for. I never really told them that when I'm playing against them. Of course not.
Obviously.
Yeah, but for instance, someone like a Tendulkar, I think one of the greatest I've seen as a batsman. I wasn't lucky enough to get him out in Test cricket, which is sad. But he was one of the guys I have a lot of respect for. Ricky Ponting,
right?
I think was a fantastic cricketer as well. I have a lot of respect for him. He will take you on. He got all the shots.
Yep.
And if you're not on your game, he could make you look very ordinary.
True.
Steve Waugh is another one. When it comes to sheer heart and guts, not the most attractive player, not the most talented,
right?
But he gets the job done his own way. And one of those guys that will never surrender. You'd have to literally knock him out.
Well, you did. That was the famous encounter between the two of you in 1995. And a lot of people couldn't believe that you were talking on the field. And I don't know what was more surprising, that you were fired up or you could actually understand what Steve Waugh said, because he always talks out of the side of his mouth.
Yeah, that's probably the only time I've ever said anything, towards a batsman. Because that's not part of my game. Like I said before, the 5.5 ounces will do the talking for me. You rattle me, then it's the ball versus the bat. Steve Waugh, I remember that it was a tricky pitch to bat on in Trinidad, and he was really struggling, kept missing a lot, and he scored 60 that first innings, which was...
He still says it's almost his best innings, even though it was 68.
It was a tremendous innings on a surface like that. On a normal day, it could have easily been 100.
Yeah.
So he batted well, and he probably got a little frustrated, and then he cursed at me. I must admit that I didn't hear him. One of my teammates told me I was just walking back. He said the F word, like F off or whatever. Yeah. I didn't hear him, and I let it slide because sometimes in the heat of battle, you say things. So I say, it's okay, it's all right. And then we went in for the break, and after I came back out, I bowled him a couple of deliveries, and he kept missing, and then something snapped in me. So I asked him, did you swear at me? And he didn't say yes, he didn't say no. He just simply said, I can say whatever I want to say. And that to me was like a yes. And that's when I snapped and let him know in uncertain terms that I will knock you out right here and now. I have no career left in cricket. If they ban me, I don't really care. But one thing I know, you won't play again either. But I didn't say that calmly.
And Richie Richardson, that's the famous scene of him physically dragging you away from that encounter.
Yes, I was highly annoyed with him because we've had our battles over the years. He scored a lot of runs against me. I've gotten him out as well, and there was never any words exchanged. And for him to said that, I thought it was a little bit disrespectful, and I didn't like it. But the good thing about it, we never lost respect for each other. It started right there on the pitch and ended right there. We never spoke about it, ever. We met a few times after. As a matter of fact, when I did my autobiography, I asked him to do the foreword for me, which he quietly accepted, and he did. So there's no animosity between us. He just started there in a day within a minute or whatever.